South African football, or soccer as we call it, fans are on a high this week with Bafana Bafana's return to the World Cup football. And supporters are keenly following every move. And right in the middle of that global moment is a South African brand that started in Stellenbosch and is now being worn around the world. Two brothers, Steph and Daniel Steinman, are the force behind Old School SA, a fast-growing supporter brand in global sport. Their collections now carry the colours of the Springboks, Orlando Pirates, and Premier League giants like Manchester City and the NBA in the US, to name but a few. And joining us in the studio today is one half of that duo, Steph Steinman. Steph, so nice to see you.
Thanks, Linda. It's a pleasure being here, and thanks for the lovely introduction.
Well, can we start with the moment we end? Like Bafana Bafana has just played their first World Cup match, and social media is full of old school kit that you are wearing right now as well for Bafana Bafana. So what exactly is your involvement around this World Cup?
Firstly, we are so excited for this World Cup. I mean, everyone has football, Bafana fever. It's full on Bafana Fridays at this point. For us, it's just such a massive privilege. Obviously, Safa brought this 96 heritage range back to life with Old School as the partner. And for us, during this period, it's just such a big occasion for us to make sure that we tell the story correct of that 96 era in, jointly with Safa. We've also included a local artist called Stephen Langa in the campaign. We just realized that era of football can't be captured by product alone. So we've sort of included him in this campaign to sort of, in his own artistic lens, bring this product to life in a pastel work. And we have made 25 prints that is showcased in our stores alongside this 96 Bafana range, and it is for sale exclusively in our stores, and Stephen Langa is obviously benefiting from those proceeds. So it's a very exciting initiative for us, and our creative director is also currently in Mexico getting content of the 2010 legends who just played their match against Mexico earlier this week. We did a 2010 legend send-off at our Sandton store, so it's just full on Bafana fever, like I said, and we are so excited to be involved and be part of it.
Yeah, I've looked at some of your social media coverage of it, and I see big names like Siziphiwe Ntlaningeshe wearing one of your shirts. So what is the feedback from fans?
No, fans are loving it. I think at this point, as South Africans, I think South Africans are some of the most passionate sports people across the whole world. So I would say it's sort of at this point, anyone just wants to get their hands on a Bafana jersey and just wear it. And I think that's what makes this moment so beautiful. You see people who wouldn't normally watch soccer, but because South Africa is representing us as a country on global stages, on the global stage, it's sort of everyone is uniting and coming together. So, no, it's just special to see how everyone is just grabbing jerseys, putting it on and wearing it. I think people are sleeping in their jerseys at this point.
So you were literally known for, rugby jerseys and what you did with the Springboks. So can we go back? So what sparked this whole idea of bringing out this amazing supporters gear?
No, I love that. I love that question. So I'm going to take it back to 2019 Stellenbosch. It was the Rugby World Cup year, and both myself and my brother, we were studying at Stellenbosch. And we were always sort of keen entrepreneurs. I would almost say because we were forced to. We never just got a free handout. Like we always had to sort of work for something or explain to our dad, like, how are we going to afford this? So I think that it was sort of engraved into our mindset. And at the point we were walking around, walking to class, and we saw a lot of people walking around with these vintage green and gold jerseys. And I think one night when we were having a beer together, I was just telling him, have you also seen this? Like everyone is wearing these vintage jerseys. And we were actually quite sad because we assumed these jerseys obviously got passed down by these people's dads or parents from back in the days, and we actually looked at one another and we said, like, surely we can find it somewhere. We tried looking if someone is selling it, and we said, well, if we feel this way, surely other people feel this way, and it can't be found anywhere. And I would say I want to say almost 100 emails later, we found a supplier that fit all our needs, and that was sort of the start of old school, but we didn't know it back then.
Yeah, and then you initially you came up with a problem with the rugby board, but you guys were so cleverly then negotiated a deal.
Yeah, no, that was also such a pivotal moment for us. I think in 2023, well, to take you back 2019 to 2023, we did, it was almost a very quiet period for us. Daniel went to do his articles, and I ran a marketing agency, which was sort of sitting in-house being the marketing agency for old school. And we were just reinvesting all of the profits back into the business, which wasn't a lot back in that time. Like I said, between 2019 and start of 23, it was actually quite slow. And then 2023, we had a great year. And then, as you mentioned, in 2024, we had this incident, and he sort of said to the Springboks, like, look at the story we are telling. Look what we can do. Imagine what we can do with the Springbok brand. And we actually reached the deal, which was monumental for us, where we actually, obviously now, that was, I think, a great tipping point for us. We have now operating the stores for the Springboks. We have now opened up in Sandton, in Canal Walk, in Menlyn, and also there's a pop-up in Gateway. So it's just been sort of strength to strength since then, from like a rugby front, which was very, very cool.
Well, that's the rugby side, but you've landed partnerships most South African brands can only dream of, Orlando Pirates, but then Manchester City, the NBA in the US. I mean, how did those conversations start?
Yeah, I think it's such a question we actually look back on, and I think what happened is there was a pivotal moment after we signed the Springbok deal, or just before that, where we actually looked at our mission statement, which was always been to unite people with product, to create a belonging where people can really, it's not just wearing something because it looks cool, but when you wear it, that you actually belong. You can feel that story, and it unites people. And that has been our mission statement. And we looked at ourselves and we said, cool, I feel like we are doing a great job, but we're doing it for a select group in South Africa, and that's not our mission statement. We want to unite the whole of South Africa with products. And that's when we went knocking on the likes of Orlando Pirates, Kaizer Chiefs, and Orlando Pirates was actually the first one that we started working with. And it wasn't overnight success, I must tell you. We launched, and we did a very cool campaign, but we had confidence because we actually sat with the Khoza brothers and said, like, what story should we tell? How do we connect? Because for us, it's not just about putting product to market. It's telling a story that people relate with, that, like I said, that they can say, cool, it's part of a belonging. And that was actually a moment where we realized this isn't going to be an overnight thing, but because we are telling the story in this way, we know in the long run it will work out. And I think the proof was in the pudding. After a few months of hard work and continuing telling the story, that this narrative that they have sort of given us, it started paying off. We started working with Dr. Kumalu, Kaizer Chiefs, and I think what we've done in South Africa was we were able to tell an authentic story because we work directly with these partners, and we aren't naive in the sense to say that we can tell a story better than the rights holders themselves. And I think that opened up the global doors. We realized that, there is a Man City, a Liverpool, a NBA fan in South Africa that feels the same way that you and I feel about Kaizer Chiefs and the Springboks and Bafana Bafana. And it was, again, just such a beautiful extension of our mission statement, which is uniting people behind products and teams they love.
Yeah, because the Premier Football League is so huge. I mean, what a coup to get that. You two brothers building a business. How does that dynamic work? And is Daniel at the moment, is he already in the US, Mexico, or Canada?
Yeah, Daniel, oh, I love him. We've always been best friends. So we're just a year apart. So even when we were at school, we played some sports together and we've had, sort of the same friend group. So it's actually just been the biggest blessing doing this with him. But we are, if you probably can tell as well, we are the complete opposites. Daniel is an extreme extrovert and I'm more introverted, a little bit more calculated in the way I go about things. But I do think it's a very good balance. Like you said, Daniel would be flying around, doing deals, going, knocking on doors the whole time, making a lot of promises. And I'd be sitting on this side trying to make sure those promises are kept. So it's a very good balance. Actually, I do think we balance each other out quite well, and we can be honest with each other in all circumstances. So that's great.
Well, your dad wrote a book, Fundamentals for Effective Monitoring, Raising Giant Killers. So did his thinking shape any of how you lead or make decisions?
Yeah, I think definitely. I would say not just the book, but like you said, the way it has sort of been ingrained into our, upbringing. We always made the joke and said like we understood purpose and we were asking the why question before we could even say goo goo gaga, just because that was sort of what my dad drilled into us, and it was such a valuable skill. I think at the time we were sort of hoping that he could teach us more about entrepreneurship and business, but he actually equipped us with probably one of the most important skills for running a business, which is people. And I think, like I said, understanding your purpose, your why, understanding that there's a difference between being good at something and a true strength, understanding that and then being able to build a culture first business, I would definitely owe it to my dad.
Well, sometimes when you rise like you guys did, there comes a lot of noise. So has anything been misunderstood about old school that you would like to correct?
Yeah, I would say probably, I think, like you say, just because people see all these new stuff we're bringing out the whole time, we see these comments of people saying, why aren't you doing Sundowns or why aren't you doing Manchester United as an example? And I think that just shows me a lot of people don't really understand the relationship between old school and the institutions that we are working with. It is in most cases either we are partners or we are working with them as a direct licensee. So always working with them in official, authentic capacity. And what that means is that we don't just go and take a product and chuck their logo on it. No, not at all. We go and sit with them and make sure that we create a range together. We sit with them and sort of understand their audience, their story, their background as a club or as a brand to make sure that that story that they are telling, that is how we bring that product to market. So I think that is one of the most important things, because people sometimes see the stuff we do and they say, well, how does this happen? It's because we really need to sit with them and they are part of the approval process, um, and shaping the whole narrative and shaping the product. So I think that is something that has been definitely been misunderstood by people. They think it's just us chucking a logo on and having free reign. And with, sorry, Linda, with that, it also means that these institutions, apart from us, sitting with them and ensuring that their story lives correctly and is told correctly, we pay for those rights and the revenue actually goes back and benefits those clubs directly. And I don't think a lot of people also understands that.
Well, the World Cup is such a massive stage. So beyond that, what do you hope this would unlock for old school?
Well, I think for us, just as I've said, and I sound like a tape record, but just true to our mission statement that people can really see what it's about for us. It's really about bringing people together and uniting people. And the World Cup is the perfect example. I think for us, it is full on World Cup focus at this moment, just because we really want to honor the team that is playing and ensure that we can really make or be part of these memorable moments that people have. Because at the end of the day, people don't really always remember the game, but they do remember sort of how they watched it and who they watched it with. And we want to be able to be part of that conversations and making sure that we amplify those experiences and memories for people, that when they look back, they can look at some of these jerseys and products and have a story to tell for generations to come.
Well, you are so young and so is your brother. So if you look ahead, where do you guys want to grow to?
Well, that's a question I always struggle to answer, because that's something that Daniel drives. And I would say 1 week it can be this and the next week it is this. He's used to moving quite fast. But no, I'm more joking. I think for us, the focus for now, obviously we have big ambitions and we have been growing very quickly. But the focus for now is really the customer and ensuring that we always stay true to what I'm telling you here, which is to say, are we really always having that sort of look back, say, are we really doing justice and doing the clubs justice in the way that we are really creating a belonging and telling their story in the right, authentic way, not just launching a product and telling the story, but making sure that golden thread is told and they show up in the right way. And I think by focusing on how we tell that story and the customer, the rest follows naturally. Yes, we obviously do have ambitions and we do want to continue growing, but I think if we do that right, the rest will follow. And that's always sort of been our philosophy. I think we as a business focus on that, and Daniel focus on knocking on doors. If we've set this up correctly, we can service all the new promises that he goes out and make.
So are you also jetting out there?
Unfortunately not. I've left my visa a little late, but I think it's going to be an exceptional tournament. From what I've seen in the videos that's going around in Mexico, I'm very jealous. Let me just tell you that.
Are there sports you haven't tapped into yet that you would like to?
I think for us, a big realization for now is to say it's more a group sports thing. I think cricket is a sort of exception to the rule. It's an individual, but we've just seen like it's, I don't want to say easier, but people have more of just like a diehard fan mentality towards like a team as an individual. So I would say where there's individual sport or team sports, in South Africa that has like big audiences and people, we want to service those people and create sort of products that they can feel proud to wear.
Well, Steph Steinman, what a lovely story. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the time and taking time, Linda. I really appreciate it.
In uncertain times, good information is priceless. The Biz News Conference is heading back to the Drakensberg. Join me, Alec Hogg, from the 11th to the 14th of August for BNC 9, Champagne Sports Resort, where it all began and where our community gathers for honest conversations, smart investing insights, and direct access to some of South Africa's sharpest minds. Come and rub shoulders with the best we've got. 28 keynote speakers, 3 days. Seats are available now. Book your seat by clicking the link in the description. Start your day a step ahead. Biz News Insider. It delivers the business stories that matter every morning straight to your inbox. Sharp, fast, and free. Subscribe now.